We're used to margins telling us the closeness of a game, but in sports like basketball and football, you can't rely on a score to tell you the intensity of the game. Yes, a close score obviously means a close game, but sometimes those larger scores have deeper meanings behind them. And you really gotta know what the power of a score is in a lot of sports if you really want to take away useful information out of them. And what do I mean by this? Well, the Philadelphia 76ers' most recent game versus the Atlanta Hawks had them down 69-59 at halftime. But the game was then thrown into overtime where the Philadelphia 76ers won with the score of 136-131. 5 points is not actually that close in an NBA game. Well, it kind of is close, but it's still two scores. But the fact that it was thrown into overtime, or when their win streak was snapped by the Bulls in a 109-105 double overtime loss, I mean, it doesn't sound as close as, say, the 103-101 Celtics game, but it was, in fact, even more exciting due to the fact that it was thrown into multiple overtimes. Let's also take the best Super Bowl in history. The Patriots' epic comeback against the Atlanta Falcons. They were down 28-3 with 17 minutes and 6 seconds left in regulation, and they turned around that 25-point deficit to win the Super Bowl, 34-28. That was done in overtime, though. They had to go to overtime for that to happen, and they scored a touchdown on the opening drive. 6 points at first glance sounds like a pretty big margin, but in football, that is one touchdown. As a matter of fact, any game that's within 8 points is considered a one-score game because 8 points is what a touchdown with a 2-point conversion is. The most amount of points possible in one play. So, as a result, in football, even the Super Bowl 52, the next year's Super Bowl, where the Eagles beat the Patriots, which is also considered one of the best Super Bowls due to the amazing offensive lines and the high-scoring nature of the game, while keeping it close. 41-33 doesn't even sound close, even if you think that 7 points is one score, but even 8 points is one score. If the Patriots had gotten a touchdown and had made the 2-point conversion, I'm telling you. So, when you think about it that way, it's not always the fact that, you know, these 1-point games are competitive. I'm not saying that that's never the case. Like the Chargers lost 31-30 to the Jaguars when they were up 27-0. That was still a historic comeback. It's just that it didn't even involve going over into overtime. Or when the Jets early in the season beat the Browns 31-30 despite having only a 0.1% chance of winning. That's less than the Atlanta Falcons had at their best. And it was because the Cleveland Browns had a 13-point lead and the Jets had no timeouts left. So it was very incredible to see for Jets fans when they actually won. Now, of course, the Jets were going through a 6-game losing streak and missed the playoffs, so this didn't really matter that much. Now, in football, what I want to say is that I don't always want to say 6-point games are the most exciting, because not all 6-point games go into overtime. My point is, though, is that when you see the score that has this 1-point margin in basketball, too, that doesn't always mean that it was the best game ever, even though it was kept close. It's better than a game that's lopsided and, 41-23. That's not going to be an interesting game, at least for parts of it. It's not going to be interesting. But sometimes these 6-point games, look at the NFL playoffs last year. When the Bills lost to the Chiefs, the most controversial game, it was 42-36. That was due to an overtime loss. The Bills scored with 13 seconds left. The Chiefs tied it up with 5 seconds left. Then they got the opening drive and scored a touchdown. That's actually what caused the change in rules, but no game this postseason went to overtime. And any overtime loss is going to be either 3 or 6 points realistically. I guess it could be even more. No, it can't. And I'm not saying that 3-point overtime losses don't happen. Look at Week 18 regular season last year, Raiders versus Chargers, where the Chargers were eliminated from the postseason by the Raiders. due to a field goal 2 seconds left by the Raiders. That made the score 35-32, and a very high-intensity game, considering it was win or tie and in, lose and go home. And I really got to say that it was an anxiety-inducing game for the Raiders, for the Chargers, and also for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, if they tied, they would be the ones eliminated from the playoffs. So, again, I don't want to say that it was not special for the Raiders, but really the most stress in that game was for the Chargers and the Steelers, who both needed this to happen. Needed something to happen for them to make it into playoffs. Overtime controversies are where the most controversies happen in football, and a lot of times it's 3 to 6 points. And the point of this video is that don't just blanketly look at a score and make an assumption. Now, I don't want to say a game-winning field goal isn't high drama. It is. A lot of the times that they can be due to a game-winning field goal. But game-winning field goals are routine. A lot of times when you see these impressive football games, they are definitely not routine. So, Oh, and just one note before I finish. When the Eagles were up 24-14 and they still lost, 10-point comeback in the Super Bowl is a lot. After 28-3, we might be desensitized to it, but if that game never happened, it would tie for the largest comeback by the Chiefs in postseason history. Of course, the 28-3 Super Bowl changes all of that.